I think so many women would attain their dream life if they just stopped attaching it to a man. Take him out of the equation. So I'm going to go over a story that a perfect example of this, and it was in Modern Love in the New York Times, which my mutual Cecilia Regina calls it modern gaslighting, because so many of the stories in that column are like, is this really love? I actually really like this story because it well, you'll see why. But by the way, Cecilia and I are going live together. Join my Patreon if you want to be there. It's Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. France time. Join my Patreon even if you can't afford that tier, because you can keep up with my stuff over there. Anyway, let's get into it. I have so many points. Really? This neighbor drives me crazy. He drives everyone in the neighborhood. He cannot stop working on his lawn all the time. I swear, I'm going to use this. This man doesn't know how to stop. Even when he's retired, he doesn't know how to stop. He doesn't know how to stop. Better that than watching TV. We overheard him say the other day, he has all these vegetables. He grew this entire garden, but he's grown too much. And so he literally said, I think I'm just going to throw this in the trash. Imagine throwing vegetables in the trash because you're so bored that you made so many, but it didn't occur to you to give them to somebody. What? Okay, so this is the article. This is in the Times. I really love this image. Anyway, so she starts off by saying, the first sentence is this: I don't want to own a house by myself. It's so funny that women will wait for a man, unreliable, reckless men, to do something this massive with, as if that's the only option. But that's how we're conditioned. That's how we're conditioned. I don't own my house by myself, I said to my partner of 4 years as we discussed the benefits of owning property in Bozeman, Montana, our increasingly unaffordable mountain town. We have to try to make this work. Okay, so right here, this already seems like a terrible approach to relationship. We got to make this work. We got to, it's kind of like, do you know how many people will try to have children, even though the man, I've done stories about this in Modern Love of a woman trying so hard to have a baby and her husband is cheating on her and doing nothing. I swear, we try so hard to make it work. For what? For who? I was a 30-year-old writer. He was a carpenter and house framer, several years younger. Now, several years younger, the older you get is not as important, but several years younger when you're 30, what does that mean? Is this dude 24? Or how old is this dude? Because anyway, I don't know. I'm not against dating younger men. Anytime I say that, people are like, older men and younger men, they're out trash, right? I get it. I've already made videos of why sometimes younger men are actually way better fit than these old dudes who are like grandpas even when they're 20. Anyway, we had been trying to make it work, in quotes, for the past year. We fought bitterly, took breaks, got back together. I moved out of our shared house, back in and out again. Then in June 2018, a reasonably priced house came on the market during one of our let's try again period. Oh, okay. So don't let a man baby trap you, and don't let a man house trap you. If you really want a house, if you really want a baby, actually, and some of my mutuals are the ones who first pointed this out, and I was like, that's what it is. Do not have a child if you're not prepared to be a single mom. If you don't think you could handle, if you are sure you would hate being a single mom, you might want to second guess being a mom, because the chances of that happening are so high. And even if you are still married, you'll be a married single mom, which is just as bad. Well, depending on who you ask. Most divorced women I know, single moms I know, would say it's actually worse to be a married single mom than a divorced single mom. But anyway, that's another video. I'm actually going to show you at the end of this example of a friend of mine who built a house without a man because she was so tired of waiting for a man to have a house. And I have another friend who was tired of waiting for a man, like a good partner to parent with. So she is going it alone on purpose. It's the second person I know who's done that, and I am so happy for them. But anyway, let's get into this story. The house was spacious, 3-bedroom, 2-car garage. So anyway, big old house. The mortgage was manageable for 2 people, but not for me alone. So this is a lot of trust that she's putting into this man. A man that they had been fighting bitterly. She'd been fighting bitterly with On again, off again. It was like, I know, let's make a massive commitment that is going to be very hard to get out of. Now, this is actually not nearly as bad as like the major commitment of parenthood, but it's kind of similar in the theme that this is a massive thing. And this is a very unstable relationship, but she just make it work. I know, let's take on this huge thing that has huge consequences in hopes that that'll make it work. No. Which is why after the final meeting with the real estate agent, we agreed to split the monthly payment down the middle. Okay, I don't know if y'all know much about writers. We don't make much. That's why I'm on here all the time, is because they kept paying me less and less, even though my portfolio was getting bigger and bigger. I can't afford to be a writer anymore. I had to find another job to do my storytelling and reporting with, because writing doesn't pay, and this dude's a carpenter. So my guess is that he actually probably makes more money than her. So maybe not. Maybe she comes from money. We don't know. They're splitting it down the middle, the whole 50-50 thing. Questionable. My credit was better, so I would be just because her credit is better doesn't mean she's more responsible, probably. Doesn't mean she makes more money. I would be the only person on the actual paperwork, but I would have my partner's financial yeah, right. My partner's financial contribution to his construction skill and his construction skills to ease the stress of solo homeownership. See, this is like being like, oh, I really want to have a baby. I can't really afford it or don't know how to do it. But my partner will fill in the blank. Don't ever assume these men are going to do that. I mean, I'm not going to say not ever. But I swear, before you get married, if you get married, make sure you have a way to get out. Make sure you have your own money. Make sure you're putting money aside. Like, whatever. Like, do not, you always need an escape, emergency exit. But she's like, this dude, like, this is what we do, y'all. We literally just like commit to their potential. And this is us lying to ourselves. That doesn't mean he's probably lying to her too, like whatever. They're both probably lying to each other or lying to themselves. I understand what it's like to be delusional. I've been delusional my whole life about a lot of things. But you usually only realize in hindsight, which is why she's writing this article, being like, yep, I thought this was a great idea. In the end, it actually is, so stick around because there's hope here. So she hoped that he was going to do, the homeownership would be easier, but that's assuming that the relationship would work. Big assumption. No marriage, no legal protection. She's the only one on this. This dude could just skip out. I'm telling y'all, I am not against marriage. You know that. I think marriage is a raw deal for most. Terrible. It's a scam for most women. But not getting married, but doing all the things married people do is a bigger scam. Like living with them, having houses with them, and all this crap, but then not having any legal protection. That's why when women are like, why did you get married? I'm like, a lot of reasons, but anyone who's an immigrant knows. Immigration doesn't care about love. They don't give a crap about love. They're like, where are your papers? It's security. It's financial. It's legal. It's all kinds of things. It's about a lot of things. And it's also about love. So she's got nothing to protect her here. And she's got this massive mortgage now. It's massive for one person. 2 months. I forgot about this. Y'all, I read this really fast. 2 months later, I closed on the house. 2 days after that, we had 2 days after they closed, we had one last fight and broke up for good. This is such a man move right here. Oh, did y'all remember? I promise I'm getting through this, but I know I do. I'm not friends with him because I can't be friends with someone who does this. He convinced a woman from another country to give up her apartment to get an apartment with him. Again, she's an immigrant here. He also was like fighting addiction. This kind. He got her hooked on that. So he wasn't really fighting. She gave up her old apartment. And then the day before they're supposed to sign on a new one, he broke up with her. And now she's stuck with no place to live. I don't know her. I know him through a friend. And I will not ever be speaking to this person again. I can't ever be even like friends of somebody who does that. Anyway, this is what men do all the time, y'all. Oh my God. Lucky, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just making holes. Oh, he's making a bed, just like a husky. Oh, look at him. I got 2 dead dogs behind me. Look, he's doing his little frog dog thing. Last fight broken up and leaving me alone with in the house with my cat. Cat ladies for Kamala. You better be voting for Kamala if you follow me. You know, come on. If you're in the U.S., of course, or can vote there. I'm voting in Florida. For as long as I can remember, I have been told that romantic partnerships are the most important part of my life. Yep, join the club. Well, actually, my mom never told me that. Thank God. That's probably the only reason why I did not end up differently. Society absolutely told me that. Having a partner comes before friendship and community. Oh, see, this is what we got to change. Friendship and community should always come before a partner. So, by the way, before you get all judgmental of this lady, we have always been, I think most of us have been like her at some point, and the fact that she's putting this out there, good for her for sharing this with her. It takes a lot of vulnerability to share your mistakes, but just stick around because the ending is actually quite lovely. Taking root as the central element of your life and pushing everything else to the side. And you're also like a terrible friend when you do this, right? This is like, this is why it's so hard to make friends with women who don't center men, because most women are conditioned to do this. And it doesn't even have to be a man. Women are conditioned to put romantic love, whatever that form that may take. Even women in like poly relationships are sometimes all their energy goes towards those relationships. So this takes like a lot of work to not do this. This takes so much work, y'all. Okay, so please give some grace here. We have all been trained to think this way, more or less. Regardless of how full and rich the rest of my life may be, if you are not partnered, you are not complete. This has been retaliated via the sad single person trope and blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, we already know that. It has been pushed by my parents. Now, this is a good point. Listen to this. Who were always thrilled when I started dating someone, even if that person seemed to make my life somewhat worse. Do you know how many parents do this? They're like, yeah, but at least you have someone. Please do not let sometimes it's friends too. Do not let your family convince you that you're better off. Like, I hate how much parents pressure women into staying in terrible marriages and relationships, but it happens all the time. It's always the first question my extended family asks before inquiring about my career, my travels, or my friends. So when I found myself single again at 30, oh my God, you're only 30. You're only 30. I forgot. So young. I know that when you hit 30, you're like, I'm old. You're really not. Alone in a house with a looming mortgage payment and no idea where my furnace or irrigation system lived, I felt both desperately alone, familiar, and in over my head, unfamiliar. What's funny is desperately alone, which is familiar, but she's been with this dude for 4 years. That just goes to show you. Maybe she's talking about when she was single, but you will never convince me there's anything lonelier than being with the wrong partner, especially a man who just doesn't like you, which so many women know that experience and are married to men currently who feel that way. Anyway, the next week was a blur of anxiety, panic, and sadness from the threat of my financial situation combined with the heartache of yet another failed relationship. There's a pattern. I sat on my small kitchen table and wrote out a column of expenses next to the column projected income. I knew the numbers said before I couldn't afford this house alone. Now, this, not to draw the parallel to the baby again, but the women I know who decided to have, there's accidental single moms. And again, I will support single moms to the day I die. Was raised by one, they have a special place in my heart. I will always defend single mom, whether they are not planned to be single moms and men just screwed them over, or they basically, had left to have a better life for themselves and their children, or they plan to be a single moms, which I respect just as much because they're like, I don't want to take my chances. I want to be a mom, but I don't trust a man to not ruin my life. So just like with a child, my friends who have had children knowingly, like through artificial insemination or whatever, we are brought into it. Right? They knew they couldn't do it alone, but they knew that they had a community built in or family who they knew they could rely on. My friend who just had her baby, had a rotation of friends on call for going to the hospital, and to be in the delivery room. Like, this is a very, On a writer's income, despite whatever Sex and the City taught you, on a writer's income, you can't have your own house unless you literally have like books, like published by big people, not like self-published. I mean, sometimes, whatever. All I'm saying is that she's got to get roommates, probably more than one. And being a single mom, you have to have community. You have to. My mom definitely had a lot of single mom friends that supported her. Like, not financially, obviously, but like they all helped each other out. I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of that as women start leaving men who are holding them back and just burdening them. My crew of girlfriends swooped in, love it, assuring me it was for the best and politely requesting that I not get back together with him. Okay, so you probably weren't listening to your girlfriends all along. If they're saying this, they probably didn't like him and probably told you that. And anyway, I'm glad you listened this time. They helped photograph the house and write rental listings on local room share site. Look at this. This is such a great story. I love this. I curated the listings but didn't post them. Too overwhelmed from the breakup to think about interviewing tenants and writing lease agreements. I checked my bank account and told myself I'd post the rental ad in a week or two. Despite feeling wrecked, I decided to go ahead with my housewarming party, hoping the warmth, laughter, and potluck dishes would help me feel less pathetic. A few hours before the start of my party, my friend Dawn, who I knew from a climbing community, showed up at my door looking distraught. I let her in, and she sat on the edge of my couch, twisting a silver bracelet around on her wrist. I was wondering, she said, if you were still planning to rent out a room, and then it tumbled out. She was ending her long-term relationship. Exhausted, stressed, and deeply sad. She needed a place to live. Oh, wow, sure, yeah, and hesitate. So she struggles with like taking money from her friend and being her friend's landlord. And like, I get it. But it's funny that we never questioned this with men. Like, isn't that funny that she's just like, I don't know, is this going to affect our friendship? You paying me rent, me being your landlord? But like, that's basically what she was going to be to this bum who left 2 days after she signed? We need to start, I swear to God, we will like have this very high standard for our friends that we will never put men who, our partners, whether it's a boyfriend or a husband or a girlfriend or whoever you're dating, your partner, your romantic partner should be your friend first. Your friend first. I don't understand people who marry someone that they're not like best friends with. I don't get it. And so she didn't this wasn't weird for her and the man, but she is all scared with a friend. Again, I understand this thinking. I get it, but I just want, we got to stop doing this. She glanced out the front window in her car. My stuff. When she was asked when to move in, she's like, my stuff's actually out there. This one was so desperate, she had everything in her car and showed up and was like, do you still have that room? After the other guests left that night, Dawn and I lugged her boxes and bags upstairs. Once her car was unloaded, we stood in the kitchen unsure of how we were supposed to interact as instant housemates with me as her landlord. Again, maybe she wasn't super good friends with Dawn, but we will move in with men or have them move in with us and not even question it. But it's like, oh, what do I do if I live with a friend? Your partner is your friend. If you don't see them that way, then you are in the wrong relationship. Well, good night. I said, I hope you feel okay after everything, and I'm sorry about your relationship. I understand this awkwardness, but I just think it's just so funny when you compare it to her partner, who was clearly not a very good friend to her. Soon enough, Dawn and I settled into our newly single lives with blessed ease. See, this is where it gets good, y'all. We each bought comfies, really oversized fleece hoodies, and spent the winter as fleece blobs, projecting movies on the wall and eating popcorn for dinner. Oh, girl dinner. I love it. Because if she's with that dude, he's expecting a real dinner every night. And who's going to cook it? You. And her and her friend are like, girl dinner, let's just eat popcorn. I love girl dinner. And actually, I would still be eating girl dinner if Anthony didn't care a lot about food and taught himself how to cook so that we would eat well. Because I just don't care. I don't care. I don't want to learn how to cook. I already do too much other stuff. But here they're just like, yeah, let's just eat what we want. We decorated a splendidly Christmas tree and hosted holiday gatherings. The first year was like having a permanent sleepover. Exactly. Complete with cookouts, biking, trail running, frequent guest appearances from our girlfriend, Dawn's rent money. We cover the mortgage. Look at that. A friend helping her cover the mortgage that her other friend didn't. I'm telling you, so many of these men, they do not see you as their friend. I don't know what they see you as, like therapists, but they don't see you as their friend. And a lot of time, they don't even know how to be friends. They're terrible to their dude friends, too. Like the fact that, like, if a man cannot have a good friendship, do you really think he knows how to have a relationship? Seriously. If they do not have good friendships, they're probably going to be a terrible partner. If they don't know how to do this with someone else, then they don't even know how to be your friend. Again, they need to be your friend first. They're just like your friend that you also fork and also like buy stuff with and like hang out with a lot. Covered the mortgage and the house, which had seemed too big, empty, and intimidating, became a gathering place of our social group. I love this. It's like this house that was supposed to like be like this sad place with her and her cat that men keep warning us about. This is what happens when they're like, good luck with you and your cat. This is what happens if we really are unless we fall into like depression and self-pity. This is what it looks like to take a breakup and see it as like a blessing. I promise you, this is probably like the best year of this woman's life because this is what we do. This is what we've been socialized to do, is to build community and house gatherings and do all this stuff to sew the social fabric instead of the individualist mindset of men who need someone to do all that stuff for them. No, not need. Who think they need someone to do all that and won't do that stuff for themselves. I hate it when I catch myself doing that, but takes a long time to get this out of me. This neighbor, oh my God. The whole neighborhood's at war because of this man. Just sucks. Anyway. I had always appreciated the women in my community, but now I felt overcome with gratitude for them. Their company and support allowed me time and space to process my conflicting feelings about the house. As a writer, I've never had a job with a retirement plan. Thank you. All I have is debt still. I don't even 401k. What is that? No, seriously, what is that? And buying the house felt like a necessary burden to secure a financial future for myself. The immense privilege of owning a home came with so much guilt and stress that I often wish would just magically vanish. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, did your parents help out with this? I don't know. Like I said, I didn't realize until a few years ago that like most people with homes like these days, they only have it because their parents put down a deposit or something. But anyway, that's not the point of this. The gutters needed cleaning, the lawn looked ragged, and the fence was crooked, the sink dripped, and the irrigation system was wonky. At some point during those first 6 months, my ex got Of course he did. He never liked you. He never liked you. Stop trying to make it work with men. You're like, why won't they marry me? You almost got a shut up ring. Instead, you got like a shut up house. Oh my God, this is a shut up house. Thank you, Cecilia Regina, for that term, by the way. She's the one who popularized that. The shut up house. This is a shut up house story. Oh, because look, he got engaged to someone else. 6 months. Wow, he's eager. Like, he got engaged within 6 months. When did he meet this woman? Was he with her the whole time? Oh, but I wonder if he was cheating. Oh my God, I have so many questions. Whatever. A few days later, after I learned that news, my furnace went out. At least by then, I knew where to find it. Throughout, Dawn helped me keep things in perspective. Always nearby with her phone, record commentary as I tried to fix a leaky faucet or locked myself out of my own room. As summer ended, Dawn and I celebrated a year of living together. I knew the lawn still had weeds. More weeds than grass, and some appliances are never, and blah, blah, blah. But I felt confident cobbling it together, right? So a lot of times women think that we can't really do like this man stuff. We can. Also, this woman is like super outdoorsy. Lives in Bozeman, Montana. Yeah, I lived in Missoula, Montana. And let me tell you, people who live in Montana are tough, especially the women. Like, just saying. So, even someone in Montana is just like, a lot of times we don't really know how strong we are until we're tested to see, like, can you do all this stuff? I learned how to fix so many things on my own because I was like, well, who am I going to ask? I guess I'll figure this out. And I always do. Now, if I had enough money, I would have paid someone to do it. But it's also really gratifying to do this stuff yourself, if you have the time, of course. One evening, Mackenzie and another close friend came over. She had been planning her wedding, and I hadn't seen much of her recently. But over takeout pizza and Betty Crocker brownies, she told us that she was ending her engagement. Was I open to renting out their upstairs bedroom? Oh, I love this, y'all. She bought a pink comfy to complement Dawn's leopard print and my plaid, and we helped each other compose Bumble messages and analyze the dates, good and bad. Mackenzie, why are you dating? You just ended an engagement. Anyway, whatever though. See, but if you're going to be in the dating apps, have other people involved, because you don't realize how awful you seem on dating apps and how needy you seem sometimes until your friend is like, "Look how many messages you've sent. What are you doing? This dude doesn't like you." Dating is definitely a team sport, y'all. But what are you doing on the apps other than laughing at them? Anyway, the sting of breakups, the drudgery of dating, and the I don't know how to say that word. Keeping the yard presentable was made better by living with two of my closest friends. While society might prize romantic relationships, our housemate life felt more loving and fulfilling than any relationship I'd ever been in. That right there. That's because she had never been in a relationship with a man who is truly her friend. Her friend. Before I finish this article, because it does have a little bit more, I want to point out something that one of my mutuals, I've been on her podcast. She wrote a whole book about friendship, and I want to say the difference between this is why this was the most fulfilling year of her life. So Danielle Bayard Jackson has a great podcast, and she just came out with this book, and I have learned so much from her. She's so amazing. This right here, Fighting for Our Friendships. Buy this book. And this article in CNN was kind of talking to her about her book. And I think I'll go over this whole article later, but I just want to show you this point right here. Female friendships, the one thing that they all have in common across the board. 3 things that make women feel very close and connected are support, symmetry, and secrecy. By symmetry, she says egalitarianism and reciprocity. I'll hit on the other ones if y'all want me to go over this article. Danielle, if you're not following her on social media, please do. You will learn so much from her. I interviewed her for an article I wrote too, and learned. Maybe I should go over that article I wrote, because I learned so much from interviewing her. But the reason why women and men can't be friends a lot of times, and therefore their romantic relationships don't work either, because they're not really friends, is because men won't do this. Egalitarian and reciprocity. They won't do that. So a lot of these men are not your friend. They may be your husband, they may be your boyfriend, but are they your friend? Do they treat you as well as your best friend does? Because if they're not treating you as well as your best friend, this major piece, this is just one of the S's, is missing. And it's not going to work. Like, it's not going to be it might work, but you are not going to feel seen, loved, understood, appreciated because of this right here. The symmetry. Mackenzie and Dawn wrote each other notes on their bathroom mirror and developed a bond with the small spider who lived behind the door, naming him Eugene. The 3 of us hosted brunches, pumpkin carvings, parties, and yoga classes. Of course y'all did, because this is what women do. This is what we do. And men, this is why they're with the cat lady. Really? Because cat ladies are doing this. What are y'all doing? You're either living in your mom's basement, or you're living alone with a coffee table full of so much crap and a nasty pillowcases if you even have any, and have like one pillow on your bed and a sink full of dishes and like no plants or real furniture. Like that, men, when they are single, unless they have learned how to take care of themselves, which takes work. I don't know how to take care of them. I had to teach myself this. Their life is so sad when they're single, unless they have really, really worked on themselves. This is what single women's lives look like. Golden Girls, my Gen Xers, I was like, all right, I don't care if I ever get married. I'm going to live the Golden Girls ending for sure. We managed to store 8 bikes in the garage, cursing the tangle of handlebars, blah, blah, whatever. Over the next few years, my house continued to provide a soft landing for women who suddenly found themselves packing boxes in the blur of tears. When Mackenzie left to move in with her new partner, my close friend Haley was signing divorce papers. Yep. During the turbulence of early lockdown life, she landed stunned, surrounded by boxes in Mackenzie's recently vacated room. When Dawn moved closer to her work, Haley moved into the big room and bought a teal comfy. They all got comfies. I love it. Then Mackenzie went through another breakup. Mackenzie, this is why you should have taken a break after you got divorced or ended your engagement. Oh, hello. What is it? Sorry, I don't know Mackenzie or her situation, but seriously, please just take some time to date yourself. Please don't go right on the apps. Please just. Anyway, at some point in the group chat, someone christened the upstairs the rejected housewives suite. Although none of us aspired to be housewives in the first place, the name stuck. My house, once my impossible burden, had transformed into a place where other women came, look at his little turkey legs, to relieve their impossible burdens. But the value went both ways. Our relationship might not have been viewed with the same intrinsic social value as those with long-term romantic partners, but they sustained and strengthened me during the loneliest, most stressful year of my adult life. 3 years later, I look back on those painful, chaotic years with gratitude, and I keep one room in the rejected housewife state open and furnished just in case. So I actually lived in a house like this when I was in LA, right after I left that abusive relationship. I moved into a house with all women, and the upstairs room was the one I originally moved into. And it was a lesbian couple. And then there was a downstairs apartment that had a separate entrance, but that person shared the kitchen upstairs. Anyway, the woman downstairs had lived in this separate apartment, and she moved in there right after a breakup. And that is the place that she healed. But she was there for 6 months or maybe not even. And then she actually decided to get a new apartment. And I moved into that one. And that is when I started, I'd already been healing my stuff, but down in that apartment, he's laying, look at this. Don't even mind. He lays in the weirdest positions, y'all. But that downstairs apartment is where, after over a year of not dating, I took, screenwriting classes. I focused on my friendship, my community, doing all kinds of cool stuff. Took kickboxing classes to get all my rage out from that abusive relationship I had gotten out of. And then I dipped my toe into the dating world, but just for hookups, because I didn't know if I ever wanted to date a man or be in a relationship ever again. But I really wanted to I knew I had a lot of trauma and I didn't want to work that out in a relationship. I just wanted to deal with my schmegula trauma from that last relationship. And so I started dating in that downstairs apartment. Basically that apartment is where single women would get back into themselves, find themselves, nurture themselves in a house full of women. And then, start dating and stuff maybe, but really just center themselves. So then I left and moved to Spain when I was feeling good and ready to go. And the woman who moved in had just left, I don't know, a 10-year relationship, and she had 2 dogs. It's literally that downstairs apartment was just breakup after breakup. I think I love houses like that because it was literally it had a backyard, it had birds chirping, it was all women who really supported each other. And seriously, that was one of the best living arrangements of my life, especially once I had my own separate entrance. So that I could still kind of not talk to people if I didn't want to, but then also they're right there and the dogs are there, and the dogs ended up being my dogs almost. I was always babysitting them. Anyway, the point is, don't let a man baby trap you. Don't let a man house trap you. And in this case, it ended up being good because she got what she wanted, which was a house. It's just a shame that so many women end up following men into things that they really just wanted themselves, and the men are unreliable and don't see them as friends and screw them over. So I encourage you to ask yourself, if you have a dream that it's when I get married, I'm going to do fill in the blank. Is it possible to do that without him? I know a lot of women won't travel unless they're traveling with a partner. I promise you're going to have so much more fun traveling by yourself or a girlfriend, but the right person. You got to be compatible. But traveling alone, it's scary at first, but so many things that I did, I never even considered bringing a man into it because that was my conditioning, being raised by a single mom. I just wasn't, other than society itself, I wasn't taught to think of oh, I want to do this thing. How do I, or see a man do that. I want to do that, and then do it because he's doing it. A lot of women get into climbing because their boyfriends convince them to climb, but it's then they love climbing. But maybe I just wish women start asking themselves these questions and not assume that a man has to be involved in it, or even a partner, regardless of gender. Because let me show you some pictures of this house that my friend built. She built it herself. She knew when she really wanted a home. She wanted a home so bad. She couldn't afford like a big home. She was a teacher. She was like, and she was like a petite little thing, right? The fact that this pretty small woman built a house by herself. Maybe she hired someone every once in a while to help her if she needed. She literally taught herself how to build a tiny home by watching like endless YouTube videos, and then built it. I think it was like 20 grand. Plus, she spent her whole summer off building it. I was like staying with her part of that time. And I was like writing all day and she was like doing construction all day. And then we'd share lunch together and hang out at night. It was awesome. So this is the inside of her tiny home. She had a compost toilet, wood burning stove over here. She got her bed up there. This is her kitchen over here. The shower and the bathroom are behind me. And when she was building this home, I'm going to show you another picture in a sec. She said, "Am I sealing my fate?" Because she had a cat. She's like, "Am I sealing my fate as like a Catwoman, like forever alone Catwoman?" And I'm like, I don't think so. I feel like if you got to do what you got to do, you want a home really bad, build your home. And in my experience, in the experience of a lot of people in my life who just keep following their path rather than like following what their fear tells them or their society tells them or their ego or whatever, follow like what intuitively feels right. And building this house felt right for her. And yeah, she was a little afraid that by building a home for one person that she may be sealing her fate. But that's actually not what happened. She ended up like, I don't know, a year or two after moving into this, she ended up meeting this awesome guy. And I don't usually approve of people's boyfriends unless I like really. And I met him and I was like, oh my God. I was like, God, this guy's like, there's something different. You can tell when your friend meets a man who is just like, I'm just telling you, you don't always know, but a lot of times you know. I haven't been wrong yet. And I was like, dang. Anyway, they ended up building a home together like years later. They have a kid now. They're awesome. They're awesome. I love them. Anyway, she did not seal her fate. I'm not saying go build your own home so that you'll find a man. I'm not saying have a baby so that you'll find a man. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you do those things that you will find a man. But you know what? If you have to trick yourself into doing those things for you and then you realize you don't need the man anyway, then do what you got to do. But what is it you want? What do you want? Stop planning your life around the fantasy man or a man who is in real life, but it's still a fantasy man because you're projecting all kinds of stuff onto him that you have actually don't have a lot of data to back it up. Like this dude. She bought a house with a dude who she'd been fighting with a lot. They've broken up multiple times. They've been together 4 years. But maybe. Shut up, house. I mean, not really, because he didn't even buy it. He probably just went along with it. The way a lot of men will go along with it and be like, fine, I'll marry you. And then they say vows that embarrass you or smash a cake in your face or just cheat on you the whole time or just hate you. But they'll go along with it. You don't want that. That man is not your friend. So this is me sitting on the front porch with her. This is such a beautiful home. This is me having soup with her and her partner when I went back to visit. Now I want to show you the house that I stayed at. This was the home that brought me back to life. Like they had this whole thing outside. I mean, had parties. We cooked s'mores. I loved living here. This was my like breakup house. This was my bedroom. It was just like my little cave. This was my office. Look at this. Look at this. And y'all, this is me. This was the nicest place I'd ever lived. This is the first time I really created a home for myself. And I didn't realize until that breakup and until getting to LA that I needed a home. I needed a home that was safe, that was stable, that was full of love. I was used to living in places like this, where my toilet was right here outside. My refrigerator is right here. A cooler made no sense. No running water, no electricity for a while. So I love the idea of like a breakup house where women, honestly, like if I ever own a home, I want to have an extra room for someone, like a room for myself from like my, woman cave or whatever, and an extra room for a friend who ever needs it. I think it's such a great idea. Anyway, you're going to be fine. I know it's really hard. A lot of women are really grieving the idea of like never finding a partner. I was single most of my life. Didn't even, Anthony and I didn't meet until my 40s. But I think one of the reasons, going into a relationship that you're okay being single and you actually liked being single makes that relationship better because I'm not afraid of being alone. I really hope that more women would approach dating that kind of attitude, because we certainly would die a lot less. Anyway, let me know if you heard the comment song and tell me what you think. I want to leave a comment. Want somebody to leave a comment. Yeah, I want to leave a comment. A comment from someone, somebody someone to leave a comment. Somebody look at him. Somebody look at him. Someone to leave a comment. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm trying to sing one of the best singers of all time. There's some horses on the walk. I want to see some horses and comments. If you're new here, I sing silly songs, so you can leave a comment. Ooh, comment. Ooh. I'm being silly. 3, 2, 1. Ooh. Are you done with the comment? Oh my God, this was the worst idea ever, but that's my comment song today. Bye. Taking suggestions.